And I'm not saying that if you went and saw this movie that you're a bad person. I'm not saying that at all. All I want to show you is that there is slight, subtle differences that throw so much slight error into it that it could be detrimental to us. Esther 2:10. Esther had not revealed her people or family, for Mordecai had charged her not to reveal it. This is a prophetic story of the end time. Esther is sort of like what she went through is kind of what we're going to go through in the time of prosecution and things. So it's not by any chance that they came out with an Esther movie here in sort of the end times, as we all know. And the movie came out on Friday the 13th. Out of all of the days that they could possibly pick for this movie to come out, they picked this day. So here's the clip.
How do I keep our laws? How do I pray? What excuse do I offer God for not keeping his commandments?
Oh, Hadassah. God sees the inward observance. The court is a dangerous place. I think it would be better if you forgot that you were a Jew.
Does anybody spot the subtle difference? In Esther, it says, don't tell anybody. But yet in the movie, it says, when time is trouble, forget that you're a Jew. If this is a prophetic story, and this is kind of things that are put in the back of our minds, what happens when we're being persecuted? Do we forget that we're Christians? There may be a time that we shouldn't tell anybody, but not forget. Matthew 7:15. Beware of false prophets which come to you as sheep's clothing, but are inwardly ravening wolves. That's a sheep in wolf's clothing, if anybody didn't get that. Has anybody seen this movie? And I want to say again, once again, this is a movie about Christ's life, right? It's not bad. But I want to point out something that's a subtle difference about this movie. Where in this picture is Christ? It's not the guy in the center. It's in her stomach. You are correct, but let me tell you something a little bit about Hollywood. This is the way Hollywood operates when you see a movie poster, and this is most of the time, not always. There's a thing called top billing, and it's usually their names are printed on the top of the thing. Whoever has the left corner is called top billing. They make the most money. If there's no names on it, it's generally the person that's the biggest in the screen. Who's the biggest person in this screen? This is the only movie to ever have premiered at the Vatican. There is no other movie on this planet that has premiered at the Vatican. When you watch just the trailer of this movie, there's a scene in there where she's in the field and she's saying, God, why me? Why this? Why that? And God's voice comes on and you hear this, hail, 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 hail. And the next word is Mary. These are subtle little things that are put in there. You people may all know the truth. You may not watch this and say, oh yeah, now I want to go worship Mary. But there's a whole world of people out there that see these things. This is a Time magazine. Hail Mary, Catholics have long revered her, but now Protestants are finding their own reasons to celebrate the mother of Jesus. This is something that's coming out. We are a Protestant nation, are we not? And now this is finding its way into even our society and our culture and kind of into our movies. I don't want to say anything bad about this movie. All I want to do is note, whenever you see a wedding, whenever you see a funeral, whenever you see anything that has to do with religion, what perspective do you see it from? Do you think that there is something that they're trying to put into the minds of the people. It has been said that there will be a day that we all need to go to Sunday school, and there will be a Sunday law. What happens to all the people that don't believe in God? And they've watched 1.5 million movies that have nothing but Catholicism pushed in them. Oh, well, think of church. I have to go to church. Here's where I go. Through the two great errors, the immortality of the soul and Sunday sacredness, Satan will bring the people under his deceptions. While the former lays the foundation of spiritualism, the later creates a bond of sympathy with Rome. The Protestants of the United States will be foremost in stretching their hands across the gulf to grasp the hand of spiritualism. They will reach over the abyss to clasp the hands of with the Roman power, and under the influence of this threefold union, this country will follow in the footsteps of Rome, trampling on the rights of consciousness. This was written quite a while ago, and it's starting to be put into effect in these movies that are affecting all of our minds. Now I'm going to turn it over to Brandon.
I'd like to wrap this whole thing up. What are the spiritual ramifications of all this? And where are we going to go with this? Isaiah 14:12-14 says, How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which did weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven, and I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will be like the Most High. We see a level of arrogance, a level of wanting to be higher than Jesus Christ. We see this level of almost fame. He couldn't stand, we read from inspiration that he couldn't stand that he wasn't part of the whole creation plan. And so he wanted to exalt himself above the throne of God. What was the result? Revelation 12:4. And the dragon, or Satan, with his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven and did cast them to the ground. We know from the Bible, what is stars? Angels. Just a little history lesson, and I'm sure most of you guys already know this. Okay, this is an artist's rendition of Babylon back in that time. You go through this portion right here, that's the gate of Ishtar, the moon goddess. To its left, that's their temple, the ziggurat. What was their main god that they worshipped? Baal, sun worship. Okay? In that last quote that Scotty read, what are the two errors that we're going to be faced with? Sunday sacredness, immortality of the soul. Okay, we've already nailed one of Babylon. And it's interesting, when you study Daniel and Revelation, they always have to go hand in hand. Babylon is repeated through Revelation. Why? Because right there, right here, sun worship was the first thing. Sunday sacredness. Secondly, they believe that when a human died, when their loved one died, their soul transcended into the stars. And then they revered worship. They had thousands of gods, besides Baal and all the moon goddess and whatnot. And this is the quote here from that book. I'm not going to read to you because it's super long. But it says, since each star was thought to be animated by an intelligence whose mortal's body had once lived upon the earth, we may readily perceive whence all the follies of judicial astrology have originated. Same source. That the souls of the hero gods were thought by the Egyptians to have migrated into the stars. Astronomy, thus blended with hero worship, certainly originated at Babylon, and so forth. So here we see these both doctrines starting. Now let me ask you, is the Bible very clear in Deuteronomy? Did God have an abomination against star worship? Deuteronomy 18, you can look that up yourselves. Do we worship stars today? Do we have stars for, say, movie stars, basketball stars, football stars? Why do we call them this? Why do we revere ourselves to these people? Why do we pay money to support these guys?